Good evening. I'm Shane Van Fleet, Western Illinois Division, and I wanted to talk to you guys tonight about a couple things as we're going into post-chemical spraying. As everybody knows, here in the Midwest, it's been a little drier than normal. It's a little cooler than normal. I pulled a couple plants to show a couple things going on in the field. These two plants are both V3 plants as far as maturity, but there's a huge difference in these two. Different tillage practice, different fertility practices. Dug one up on the way home, dug this one up knowing it was treated with our Awaken co-flow product, and wow, what a difference you can see going on in these roots. I don't know if you can see them really well, but I want you to take a look at the difference in them two roots. Obviously different tillage practices, but around V3, which is where these plants get their nodal root system, their secondary root system, and that's when they quit living off the seed, and then they're going to really live off the roots of the plant. What we're doing here with this plant treated with Awaken co-flow, we got, boron, copper, iron, manganese, and zinc in that plant, but that zinc especially really stimulates hormones in that plant. We know that zinc will stimulate our gibberellic hormones in that plant, our auxins and our gibberellin hormones. And what you can see is by stimulating that plant root, look what we've already accomplished on that secondary. We've got well over a foot of secondary root system. I mean, if you were to pick these plants knowing they're the same physiological maturity, which plant you think's pulling in more moisture and more nutrients right now, as we're looking at about 10 days of heat and stress here with no rain in the forecast. The reason I bring this to attention is we got a product called Radiate, and we're gonna use that on 80+% of our acres going forward. Radiate's a product that's been out for about 12 years now. It's got two modes of action in it. It's got IBA and kinetin. The IBA piece in that stimulates root growth. That's what that does. It has the ability to stimulate that plant and reproduce roots, and more so than roots too is the hairs on the roots. We know these hairs don't live forever. They've got a week to 10 days. Them spine hairs on them roots live, and then they die and generates new roots. Well, that's what Radiate does. It stimulates that plant, that IBA piece in that, stimulates root and new root hair growth. So we're constantly stimulating that plant, making it feel good, putting off new hair roots, which is always pulling in more moisture and more nutrients. And when we can stimulate them plants, when we got that double mode of action between Awaken co-flow and Radiate, these are the kind of plants we're going to see, and these are the kind of roots we're going to generate. So 2-ounce rate, considerably less than a bushel of corn cost for that Radiate application. It's an absolute no-brainer, and we have to have Radiate in that tank mix. We're taking in a bunch of chemical at that time. We're metabolizing a bunch of chemical. What that does is make that plant feel good. It stimulates it and helps metabolize that chemical and get back to growing and doing what we need to finish off that plant for the year. So please don't forget Radiate in the tank. It's proven itself year in and year out, but it's a must right now to get these roots down and get growing. We're in a little bit of this dry period right now, and we're coming out of that cold spell to really get these plants growing. Awaken co-flow and Radiate. You think that plant's gonna do all right in the future? That thing's off to a heck of a start. Don't forget your Radiate in the tank. Thanks, guys.